McGraw. How are you?
All right, so the story appears yesterday that Donald Trump wants a military parade. How far down the line are they in planning of this military parade?
Well, it's very initial stages. We're talking to Pentagon officials. They say that they're just kind of come up with ideas of what potentially the president might want. We saw Defense Secretary Mattis in front of the White House press corps yesterday saying that, yes, we are coming up with options, and that because this is what the president wanted, and we're going to present him those options, and he'll decide what he wants. When asked why he wants to do this at a time when it's a budget crunch for the military in terms of fewer dollars that are impacting their readiness, he said it's well known what the president's fondness for the military, and he said that this is why he's asked for this and why the Pentagon is coming up with those options.
Criticism from the Democrats, not surprising, but criticism from many Republicans pretty loud yesterday.
Yeah, this is interesting. There's a split here about whether this is appropriate at a time of dropping budget amounts for the military. We've heard Defense Secretary Mattis complain about that Congress needs to get its act together to make sure that those Budget Control Act shortfalls don't kick in again because they're having a major impact on the military. So you're having Democrats and some Republicans also joining in saying that this is not the appropriate time to be doing this. And then you also have a split among some veterans, too. So the VFW supporting the idea, saying it's great to honor America's veterans. And then other groups, some more recent veterans, saying that it's inappropriate at a time when you still have combat troops operating in Iraq and Afghanistan. So there seems to be a divide here about the appropriateness of it, but what we do know is that right now, at least, the Pentagon is trying to come up with those options for the president so he can decide what kind of an event he does want.
Yeah, I guess since he's commander-in-chief, he can commission, demand, order a parade?
It sounds like that's the case. I mean, pretty much it's his decision. He is commander-in-chief. Don't forget, we have military troops that pass and review every presidential inauguration. Thousands of troops in the Washington area, and some from outside the area who march in front of the presidential reviewing stand down Pennsylvania Avenue. So that's not something that we don't see. We see that every 4 years. What we don't see are large numbers of military equipment or potentially large numbers of aircraft flying overhead in formation like the president saw in France for Bastille Day, which apparently he wants to top. So that what might be an extra effort, and not only that, might incur additional costs than what we see during presidential inaugurations.
Yeah, they're saying this parade could cost $90 million. Is that possible?
I have not seen that amount, McGraw. What I have seen is that the presidential inaugurations, the two Obama inaugurations, cost between $20 and $25 million each. So that's a baseline just for troops and transportation, logistical efforts to get them here to the Washington, D.C. area. But if we're talking about getting armor from down in bases in the South and also getting aircraft pre-positioned so that they can fly in formation, there might be additional costs. But I've not seen that $90 million amount right now.
Where are we now that this story broke? Is it still full steam ahead? Is anybody... I mean, yes, it's a pretty interesting story. A lot of people have pros and cons on it, but is the Pentagon still continuing planning this?
Oh, no doubt about it. Mattis pretty much admitting that yesterday at the White House, saying, we're developing options for him now. I spoke with some officials who told me that, this is very, very initial planning. Essentially what they got was the request from the president, and then it made its way down the command chain. And so they're trying to figure out, number one, what date are we going to have this parade? The president last September referenced July 4th. It seems now like maybe the Pentagon is suggesting Veterans Day. November 11th would be the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, and so that seems to be the option they want. And then the question of how much of a parade does the president want? What kind of a scope does he want? And that's really unclear right now. So we're talking really, really in the initial phases.
I pass on my 2 cents to those at the Pentagon that somebody in St. Louis wants a float full of homeless veterans that can walk in the parade. Luis Martinez, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your information, Luis. Have a good day.